Hello everybody. The tech tool I want to talk about today is called Kids Discover. All you gotta do is type in Kids Discover onto Google, and the first thing you come up to, the first tab, is the one you want to go to. Kids Discover is an alright website. It's really good for reading. It's pretty good for reading. It doesn't really have much else to it. So, its strengths and weaknesses is pretty much it's only a reading website. You don't really get to do much else with it. You need the internet in order to access it. You can't download it and save it. I got to it on my laptop. I got to it on my Android phone, and it does say it's also accessible to iPhones and iPads, iDevices, things like that. It does cost some money. It was kind of sketchy when I signed up for free. I created an account, and then in the fine print it said it was going to automatically charge me if I had a credit card on my thing, which I don't. But I still thought that was sketchy, so I wouldn't want kids running around on this website, especially if I had a credit card saved. The pricing isn't bad, so I feel like that's a justification for automatic pricing. It's just $12 a month for an educator's license, and honestly, I don't think it's worth it. The thing I do like about this website is, you know how we're supposed to do backwards design? We design a lesson from the standard up, not an activity up. So you can go straight to a standard, and in this classroom section, it's not really that great, but it gives you the opportunity to organize your things. So if you have, if half your class is ready to move on and they understand, my example is ecosystems, then you can move on to weather patterns and how weather patterns affect ecosystems, or you could break it down and just get to more of the vocabulary, differentiate what you need to, and then have different classes for different things. So for your standards, what is pretty nice about this is that you can do state standards, common core standards, or next gen standards. So we're going to do the next gen science standards for our demo, and it goes from 3rd to 8th grade. And I'm going to do 3rd grade, science, of course. And when you're in the science standard, it doesn't give you anything else you can do. You can type in stuff, but then science standards, so it's going to do science standards. So with this so here it takes you to the standards, the NGSS standards, the kind of strand of them, what the expectation is, and then the performance, the standard description. When we went onto the NGSS website, these are the exact same standard descriptions. So my topic is I want lakes, ecosystems, balance, stuff like that. So this has a lot of things like that. I'm going to go with lakes because I found a lesson I thought would be a good example to show you. And then it takes you to this website that's all about lakes. And it's not the website, an article. It's all about lakes. And this is a whole 7-lesson unit, which is alright. And the one I want to do is plants and animals in a lake, because that will help me fit into my ecosystems lesson. You don't have to do, it's not a unit you have to teach from the beginning to the end. You can just pick and choose what you want. The reading is pretty interesting. I feel like they definitely tried to make it interesting to kids with these cool pictures and things like that. And they have all animals need, stuff like that. This is a soda lake, and then kids will be like, oh my gosh, what's a soda lake? Let's look it up. What is nice is that you can change the reading levels. So this is the most basic reading level. It makes the words a little bit easier. It doesn't really take away the amount of reading, but it makes it easier, which is nice. But one thing I did notice with all of this is just it's a lot of reading. There's not much else to it. Okay, so let's get to this little not interactive thing, but this thing right here is pretty nice. It is stop that. It you can use your pointer finger and it will.
Most lakes have at least 4 separate habitats.
Read it to you. This does the exact same thing from the beginning.
At least 4
So if you want to find another spot, go to another section. That's pretty nice. If we go to our settings, we can slow down or speed up the rate at which the person speaks, and then we can also change the translated language. So I want to do Cantonese. That's probably got to look cool, right? So then you can highlight a word, and then click on the world button, and then that will translate for you. So if you have an English language learner, this is really nice to have. Or if you have students that are behind reading level, which it's my 3rd grade class, you could have it read out loud, and then it doesn't read out loud in different languages to you, which is unfortunate. It will have definitions for you right here. Heck, what do you mean there's no definition for sunlight? Okay, let's try this again. Because I definitely have found the definition for sunlight before. There we go. And this is all in just like one reading level, so I'm afraid that if they do want to define something a little bit different, it might be in a language, in higher level language they might not understand, especially for 3rd grade, although it does look pretty basic. I have a problem with some of the things they don't have a definition for, like decomposers is a vocabulary word from this lesson. It doesn't have like its own separate vocabulary thing, but decomposers is a vocab word you would want to talk about in this lesson. It is like it's one of the bigger words in this lesson, so I feel like they absolutely should have the definition for that. So that is a weakness. Another thing is that this looks interactive. It looks like, oh, this is fun. I'm going to get into doing something fun here, and it's just more reading, which isn't bad, but it can be taxing if a student is struggling. And so I think that's definitely a weakness. There is a little tool here to keep you reading at one section at a time. My computer's going to show it. My computer's very slow. I guess it doesn't want to show it. Or maybe I gotta come up here. Oh, there we go. It's only up there. I guess it doesn't come down. Oh, I guess it does. So this thing is so you can put your whatever you want them to read in one section. It's kind of sort of useful. Overall, this is not much different than just reading it out loud. I searched a bunch of different things on here. It's pretty much the same, so it's not much different than just printing this paper out and reading it out loud. The really only difference is like the ELL translation into a different language thing, and then the definition is pretty nice, and then being able to read it out loud. If a student can do it on their own and they actually want to learn and want to have it read to them, that will give them a lot of confidence, and they don't have to feel self-conscious about not understanding what's going on in the reading. But at the same time, I can absolutely picture students in my class not wanting to read and just have it read to them, having it read to them. So the way I would use this is I would just use it as the beginning to a lesson, and not really do more than that. It's just reading, so it's a good intro, but it's not a whole lesson by itself. I wouldn't expect the kids to read this and then have an in-depth understanding of lakes and the 4 different habitats that are in a lake. So it's really not that great. I would use it in the beginning, and I wouldn't really use it anywhere else.